All right, so in this one, we're going to talk about surface property and a faster way to achieve large amounts of surface property. Uh, the way I showed you in the beginning of creating this test level here was to use the map editor. That's not the only way you can do it. There's actually a much more efficient way to do it, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. And so here we have a texture atlas, which is multiple textures tossed onto one object. And I've added that to this scene. You'll notice some is metal, and then some is cardboard, some is wood, and so it looks like so. And all of these would be different, right? So metal, wood, cardboard, and you would need to define how each one of those, when a bullet hits it, or you might walk on it, you want it to behave differently. You certainly can't do that through the map editor, but if you notice here, so this cube now, I have no surface property, nothing tagged. There's nothing here going on. I haven't changed nothing. But I can still control the material or the surface property. All you have to do is use the RSP Editor. Okay, when you open up the RSP Editor, you find your map folder, and it'll load up the RSP files you have saved. You can right click on them, click Property Editor. You'll notice there's all kinds of different properties you can change. For this example, you can see that I can just select game, go to surface type, and select wood. So we're going to make the whole thing wood. If you don't have the options for setting it as any kind of surface property there, you can go to Tools Options, just change the project from default to IKE, and click OK or Apply and OK. All right, and that will do that. And once you change that, in the game tab there, change it to wood, you can just click the little save icon, save all, and it'll save over that. So that's how that works. Now here's where it gets fun in Photoshop. So you might have defined this texture as such, but we still need to define the wood areas or the metal areas. So the whole thing is wood, but I'm going to select out the metal. And normally you have your layers tab. We're going to go to the channels one. We're going to click new, and that's where you would create an alpha channel. And I'm going to color this white. Normally alpha channels are used to create transparency for foliage and other things like that. In this case, we're going to actually take alpha 1 and rename it. We need to rename it to something that we want it to be. So in this case, it's metal. And there's a list of appropriate tags you can use in the level editor PDF file. If you scroll through there, you'll find the list. But also, if you look under property editor here, you'll see that it has just the names of them. That list is actually quite a bit different. What you need to do is take a look at, if you go into the RSP editor, projects, and you find IKE surfaces, you'll actually see some of them have parentheses and stuff around it. I'm not real sure if they would work without the parentheses, but that would be something that you might want to trial and error. I haven't got a chance to do it yet. And so this is all the different things you can use. The list from the level editor PDF file looks like this. I copied it and pasted it out. So more than likely you have to include parentheses, which is kind of weird, but is what it is. Nonetheless, moving on from that. So you can actually create that little white area and name it one of those surfaces. Okay. In this case, it's metal, and just save it. Okay. Once you save it, you can exit it. Over here, it should still be the same. I imagine it wouldn't change it, but maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So far, it looks good. So let's go to the game real quick. I've already exported that level out with that set up. And so what ends up happening is when you get in the game, it will behave as we expect it to, which is most of it will be wood, except for where I colored it white. It will hit as metal. Oh, I didn't update the level with the second one colored. I did when I had set it up previously. It was only the top one, so. But you can see this is wood, and all of this area is metal for the most part. The reason why it's not precise, not entirely precise anyways, is because of how it behaves when it's generating what's what. So this particular model, if I turn it into edged faces, it only works with geometry. So for example, this face right here, where that center point is, if it is white there, it will act as metal. If it is white underneath that area, it will act as metal. And you can tell that when I was shooting at it, this whole side here, all the way up to those boots, acted like metal. This whole top section also acts like metal. All right, because I colored straight down, and so it's actually hitting in little metal areas right there. It's just how it behaves, and so it would do this down here as well. All that would be metal. If you don't have the geometry, what ends up happening is like, let's say this was just one big face and there wasn't a bunch of little ones in it. The center point of all of this, probably right around here, really close to either being metal or wood. So it could be one or the other, and that's all that would happen. Fortunately, that's not the way we are doing it. So, but when you do make models, sometimes when you're UV mapping, your model is only going to have, you might be UV mapping, and it's going to be mostly wood on your surface. So it still works very effectively as you're creating objects, because usually when you're using a texture atlas, the geometry you're using uses just that specific part of the texture. And you can lay these, you can create multiple ones of these. So, you can do metal, you can do all the other ones, as long as, I don't know how it would behave if you put one on top of the other, but as long as they're separated fairly well, I imagine you could do metal and ice and sand or whatever. And so you can make a complete atlas with everything defined. Now, all that information is transferred in the map file. So when you export your map, what it's doing is it's selecting this polygon and it's swapping it basically to wood or whatever the case may be for that one. And then it'll do it for all the others. But once you export your map, it will stay embedded in the map file. And so you won't have to manually tag everything throughout your entire environment, which should speed you up quite a bit. And hopefully it will. And it should be a little bit more enjoyable doing that than clicking on every one of these and then clicking map editor. Because a lot of these you won't need it. So you won't need to click concrete there. None of that kind of stuff. All right. And once it's embedded in the map file, you don't need it in your actual document no more. So before you send your mod out to everybody that would download it and want to use it, you can actually take that metal section there. What I would do is I would finish my mod up for the most part, and then make a duplicate of it, and then start optimizing it so that, this is just extra information not needed. You could just delete it. And it will still work correctly in game because the map file actually has the settings, not the texture file. Texture file helps the creation process, but it isn't required. All right, and that's it for that one. I mean, it's really not too complicated, but hopefully it'll speed you up. All right, and that's it for this video.